Today I'll be discussing about respiratory physiological terms and respiratory physiological terms are really very easy to understand, but you just need to make some concepts. Starting with the tidal volume. Tidal volume, that means VT. It is the volume inspired or expired with each normal breath. Okay, that means a person is just imagine lungs. The person is taking breath, and the air which comes inside during a normal breath, or the air which goes outside during the normal breath. This is known as the tidal volume. Okay, now coming to the inspiratory reserve volume. What is inspiratory reserved volume? Inspiratory reserve volume is a volume that can be inspired above the tidal volume. That means when you have inspired, that you normally inspire, and the extra air that is coming inside the lungs is known as the inspiratory reserved volume. Now the next term, which is expiratory reserved volume. As the name suggests, expiratory reserve volume is the extra air that you take after the tidal volume. For example, you're taking the air inside, that's normal, but when you take the extra air or the more air than the normal, this is known as the expiratory reserved volume. Now, coming back to the fourth term, which is the residual volume. Now, what is the residual volume? Residual volume is the volume that remains inside the lung. Residual means that is remaining inside the lung. Okay, just imagine these are the lungs. These are the residual volume that is not coming inside or outside. That means they are going to be there fixed at this place. And always remember that the residual volume cannot be measured by spirometry. Okay, now these were the four easiest terms related to the respiratory physiology. Now we have some other terms, which is known as the dead space. The dead space is divided into the two types. Dead space is divided into the two types: anatomic dead space and the physiological dead space. Now, what is the anatomic dead space? Anatomical dead space is the volume of the conducting airways. That means the lungs, the bronchi, the bronchioles. Every part has its air, which is the anatomic dead space, and normally it's about 150 ml. Whereas the physiologic, what is the physiologic dead space? It is a functional measurement. It is clinically significant. Okay, now there is a difference. What I consider, when I was going through this topic, I came up with a question that what is the difference between the residual volume and what is the difference between the dead space? What's the difference between the two? The difference is really very easy. That space is the air that is not going to take part in the respiration, whereas the residual volume is going to take part in the respiration. And how? Okay, these are the lungs. I know it doesn't look like lungs, but yeah, this is lung. Okay, residual volume. The residual volume is the air that is expired and inspired. This is the air, okay, that is not going to be disturbed when the air comes in and when the air comes in, or whether the air is going out. The residual volume is there, okay. But what happens when between the respirations, when there is not the inspiration or not the expiration, but it's actually the duration which is in between these two, then there is the residual volume, which is allowing the continual gas exchange. That means there is blood vessels near the alveoli, and the air or the oxygen comes inside the blood capillaries. So the oxygen inside this residual volume is going to the blood vessels. That means residual volume is taking part in the exchange of gases. And what happens? The oxygen will be donated, you can say that these oxygens will come inside these vessels, and then where these residual volume will get the oxygen from, they will get mixed with all the air that is coming inside, and that is it present in the lungs. That means the area other than the residual volume. This is the area other than the residual volume. That means this residual volume is taking part in the gas exchange, whereas the anatomical data space or the physiological data space doesn't take place, or doesn't helps in gas exchange. Okay, now coming to the lung capacities, we have 4 terms for lung capacities. The first one is the inspiratory capacity. What is the inspiratory capacity? Inspiratory capacity is the sum of the tidal volume and inspiratory reserve volume. Tidal volume plus inspiratory reserve volume. That means the normal air that you are taking during normal respiration and the extra air that you are taking. That means the total capacity the lungs can have during inspiration. Okay? That means the total capacity of the lungs that is going to be filled by the air during inspiration. Now the second one is the functional residual capacity. What is the functional residual capacity? Functional residual capacity is the sum of the expiratory reserved volume and the tidal capacity. That means include all the air that is going out during expiration, the forceful one and the normal one. So the tidal volume is the air that you are expiring normally, and the expiratory reserve volume is the air when you have expired all the tidal volume and then that extra air. So this is the capacity, which is the sum of expiratory reserve volume and the residual volume. The third term is the vital capacity or forced vital capacity. Vital capacity is the term which is actually the sum of tidal volume plus inspiratory reserved volume and the plus expiratory reserve volume. All the 3 terms that we used previously. Okay? Vital capacity is the volume of air that can be forcibly expired after a maximal inspiration. That means you inspired, maximal inspiration, and now you're expiring. So all the air is the sum of the tidal volume, inspiratory reserve volume, and the expiratory reserve volume is the vital capacity. And the last one is the total lung capacity. This is the sum of all the 4 terms that you have learned. That is tidal volume plus inspiratory reserve volume and the expiratory reserve volume and the residual volume, of course. I hope you liked the video, and if you really understand, please like and subscribe this channel. Thank you.